everyone. So welcome to this webinar on maintaining motivation. I think it's a really kind of important subject, especially with online learning. It can be really difficult to get motivated when you're at home. There's a lot more distractions and things like that. So I think this webinar will hopefully be helpful, and you might get some tips to try and get motivated, especially when you have like a lot of continuous assessment and a lot of work to do. So topics that we're going to cover today are procrastination with online learning, when you're staring at a screen all day, and when you have, there seems to be more continuous assessment as well this year due to just online learning and the online exams. We're going to kind of look at what is motivation. So what is the kind of psychology behind motivation, what motivates you, and tips to get yourself motivated and avoid procrastination. So them two kind of areas are linked. So I suppose there's going to be tips for procrastination as well. So I suppose the first kind of question, if you go onto menti.com and type in the code 9323344, and I suppose when you're looking at motivation, you really need to look at what are your goals. So I suppose the first question is, they don't need to be too specific, they can be quite broad, but so what are your personal goals? So what person do you want to be in the future? What kind of things do you want to achieve? Do you have any personal goals, things that you want to go travel and things like that? Do you want to have a family? So what's your personal goals? So what's the kind of thing that's going to motivate you? And the next question is just career goals. So and I suppose with college, things like that. So what's your personal goals? So we have find a job I can do, get through college, career, to be a homeowner, to survive, have a family. There's travel and things like that. So I suppose it's identifying them and even seeing them there. You might have other ones from other people that you're like, oh yeah, I want to do that as well. So I think that's really good kind of step to kind of take a step back. Why am I in college? What am I going to achieve? So there's a good selection there. So then just the next question is, what are your career goals? And you can link college into this. So I want to get my degree. I want to have a good job. I want to whatever you want from college and whatever you kind of want in the future. So what would be your career goals? Do you want to like be a manager? Do you want to be some sort of a leader, or are you more like a team player and enjoy working as part of a team and working with people? Do you prefer to kind of what kind of jobs do you want to do? Do you want to work in IT, education to get qualified? Great. So is there any more coming in? So there we have. So big salary, that's one of the main ones, I suppose.
Yeah.
Enjoyable job is really important too. And a job that's not too hard, and try to help people. So I suppose in a helping role. Money is a thing as well, to be comfortable. That's good, and so you don't have that worry. What other ones? Work with a team as well. Yeah, that's really good. I suppose if you kind of figure out what you're good at, and if you're good at working with the team, that's good. If you're good at leading, maybe it's something that you need to look at to be some sort of a manager or things like that. So I suppose that's great. Like, there's a good selection there. So everyone has their own goals and they want to achieve something. People might achieve things before you, or you might be the first one to achieve or get married or whatever. And like, I suppose we're all on our own journey. So try not to compare things to another person, and trying to identify what your goals are, and your short-term and long-term goals as well. So like what do you hope to get from this year in college? What's your short-term goals? How well do you want to get on in your January exams and things like that? So they can be long-term and short-term, as it's good to have a variety as well. So that's great. So I suppose to get motivated, you must realize your goals, short-term and long-term. So realizing why you are doing something is important, but always make sure you are doing it for the right reasons. So I suppose if your family or whatever have kind of swayed you, or friends, or you're following your friend's path and things like that, just make sure that it's something that you really want to do, because that will motivate you if you feel that that's what you want to get out of things. So yeah, that's great. So I suppose we're going into procrastination now. I suppose everybody has their own goals, but it can be hard, especially with online learning, to actually do assignments and to do exams. It's not enjoyable. Like I admit that exams and assignments are not enjoyable. Some of them can be okay, but I don't know anybody that will be like, yes, I'm going to do an assignment. Would you agree, Keeva?
Yeah, 100%. It's always something that, you have to do, but
You have
the
to do.
enjoyment isn't always there unless it's a fun type of assignment, really. But
Yeah, yeah. So stages of procrastination. So false security. So this isn't due for a while. I can relax about it. It's another few weeks till the deadline. Laziness. Maybe I should get a head start. Good intentions there, and then realize, ah, no, I'll wait. Excuses. I'm busy right now. I'm doing something else. Denial. I still have time. And then crisis. I'll never procrastinate again. So you get to the stage, it might be the night before a job, I'm never going to do this again, and then it happens with the next assignment or the next exam. So it's just a cycle. So how often do you procrastinate? There's a U missing there. So is it every day? Is it every now and then? Is it every single day, or is it all the time? So we have one every now and then. I suppose it depends what you're doing too.
yeah.
So we have two for every now and then. Is there any more going to come in? And I suppose it's identifying the stages of procrastination and knowing how to break the cycle. So we're going to go into a few tips. And if any of you have any tips as well, please share them, because it's really good to learn from each other as well. So we are all guilty, myself and Keeva included, of procrastinating. We all can be guilty. Procrastination can have adverse effects on your schoolwork and overall happiness. It can affect your kind of anxiety and stress levels when you leave everything to the last minute. And knowing that you should be doing something that you're supposed to do is quite frustrating, and you don't end up doing it. And the next day you're like, I should have done that. So it's not easy. So identifying procrastination. So this is kind of the cycle and how you identify it. So say if you had a project or task, ask yourself, are you working on it? If it's a yes, what does your progress look like? What are your goals? So that's fine. You know kind of what you need to do. But if it's a no, if you're not working on your task, what are you doing instead? Are you on your phone? Are you on Netflix? Are you, chatting online? Are you playing games? So what are you doing instead? What are you doing to avoid studying? So identifying them is really important. How are you not justifying getting your work done? So why is playing, computer games or on your phone more important than your assignment? So try to justify what's more important. And what are the underlying reasons for you procrastinating? It could be you don't really enjoy the assignment, whatever. And then strategies to break your inaction or procrastination. So identifying the strategies, which we're going to kind of talk about. So when do you procrastinate? I think this is just a word bubble as well, actually. So is it when you're doing an assignment? Is it like in exams, in lectures, when you have work due? When do you find that you procrastinate the most? It could be the time of day as well. It could be, in the mornings or evenings. Um, and I suppose it's identifying what time of day are you most productive as well to get your work done. So when you're bored, evenings at work, when you're tired, yeah. So that's something. When you're tired or not in a good mood, it can be really easy just to push off things and say, I'll do it later. Um, so I suppose that's identifying when, and I suppose not pushing yourself too much if you're not in great mood, like kind of justifying what's going to make you feel better. So when you're studying tutorials, when the task is big, so that's when it's overwhelming. So I suppose we're going to talk about goal setting. So we've got a few there. Thanks for that. So who can relate? So a long time ago, people who sacrifice sleep, family, food, laughter, and other joys in life were called saints. And now they're called students. So that's just like, we understand that studying isn't the easiest thing. And especially this year, I suppose there's a lack of social kind of outlets for students. So definitely it's kind of one of the hardest years for students. And we feel sorry for you. So it's supposed to be hard. If it was easy, everyone would do it. So everyone would go to college and you know and put the work in if it was easy. So that's grand. Then the iceberg of success. So this is just when you're looking at other people and you're like, oh my God, how like amazing are they? How like did they even get there? So like what people see is only on top of like what actually people are doing to, get there. So if somebody has got an amazing job or good results or whatever. So this persistence, failure is a thing, like failure comes to everyone.
Yeah.
To sacrifice, disappointment, people have good habits. There's a lot of hard work and dedication as well, and goal setting. So that's things that you don't see. Athletes that are, at the top level, they're getting up at early in the morning, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, training and training. So that's something you don't see when they're standing on the podium with the gold medal across their neck. So, yeah. So motivation is what pushes us to achieve our goals, feel more fulfilled, and improve our quality of life. Okay, so I suppose self-motivation is a force that drives you to do things. People who are self-motivated tend to be more organized, have good time management skills, and more self-esteem and confidence. So you need to believe in your capacity and ability as well. So once you have your goals, realize that you can do this and have your self-motivation. Understanding and developing your self-motivation can help you take control of many aspects of your life. Everyone's motivation is different and it can fluctuate day to day. So it depends on your mood, like just the time of day that we kind of discussed. So when do you procrastinate the most? It fluctuates as well. So realizing when you're going to be more productive is probably the best time to do work. So if you can rate your motivation, so I think this is 1 to 5. So 1 is very poor and 5 is excellent. So how motivated are you? And I suppose you can link this with, college or whatever. So 2.5 is the average. We're going up. The motivation is going up.
Always a good thing.
We're kind of in the middle. 2.8, just above average, I think. So you can see there that, and I suppose it depends on what you're actually doing as well. Things you can be more motivated to do one thing over another. So that's great. So motivation there's 2 types of motivation. So there's intrinsic and extrinsic. So intrinsic motivation is the desire to do something because it is enjoyable. So you're intrinsically motivated just about the enjoyment, you're enjoying it yourself, and things like that. Where extrinsic motivation is the desire to do something because of, external rewards, such as money and praise from others. So it's more external, where intrinsic is more internal. So we can see that here. Intrinsic motivation is like, passion, interest in the subject, curiosity, while extrinsic is, praise, money, competition and grades, that other people are kind of putting pressure on you. So what type of motivation do you have more of? So would you feel that you have more intrinsic motivation, so internal motivation, or extrinsic motivation? And maybe we'll put this maybe to college. So yeah, so intrinsic motivation. And I suppose intrinsic is seen as the more kind of beneficial one to people when you're kind of self-driven yourself and you enjoy something. So that's great. So I suppose it's just kind of thinking as well what motivates you, so that you're self-motivated. What are the things that are more important to you? What's getting in the way of you having those things? So just kind of maybe reflect about that. Let's just skip that one. So motivations, goals, and achievements. So the more people achieve, I suppose with grades or with other things, there's an increased self-confidence there, and therefore this increases the ability to self-motivate and achieve. So once you kind of achieve stuff, you're getting more confident in yourself, in your ability. Conversely, failure to achieve and meet your goals, there's a reduced self-esteem and self-confidence, and then it also reduces motivation. So I suppose it depends on your experience with things. So understanding this relationship between motivation, goals, and achievement will help you set realistic goals. And I think that's the thing that we kind of highlight. Make sure you're setting manageable goals, that you're not doing a big to-do list during the day that's not going to be manageable to get through. So making sure that you have kind of SMART goals. Then there's also 10 tips to avoid procrastination. So we have get organized and get started. So organization is key. We've done a webinar that's up on YouTube about kind of time management and organization. Set simple, achievable goals. Even if you have a big assignment, setting it into smaller goals every day, and then you could be able to tick it off. Stop making excuses. And I think identifying your excuses is really important, and say, no, I'm actually making excuses here. I should really be doing work. Set a deadline. This can be a personal deadline for you. So in your SMART goals that I'll be discussing in a minute, you have to have kind of a deadline to them. Get rid of a distraction. So if it's your phone, turn it off. There's another thing called the Forest app, which is really good to kind of stop notifications coming into your phone. Time yourself, take a break, use incentives. So if you have, an hour of study put aside, what are you going to reward yourself with at the end of it? Is it a break, cup of tea, watch a Netflix episode? So making sure you're rewarding yourself as well for working hard. Get the hard stuff done first. And also tell somebody about your goals. So make you feel accountable to achieve the goal. So that can be a friend, a family member, or whoever. So this is what I was kind of talking about, goal setting, and we have done this before. So making sure that you're setting SMART goals. So if you have an assignment, splitting it down into, manageable parts. So if it's 100 words at a time, and just maybe writing down your goal and saying, I'm going to write 100 words within an hour. So that's specific, it's measurable because you have a word count there. It's attainable. You'll be able to reach your goal. It's relevant to my assignment, and it's time framed. So you're giving yourself a deadline to finish them 100 words. There's also a thing called the 5-minute rule. So sometimes you just need to get stuck in. Even set your phone for 5 minutes, and once you kind of get into it, once you give yourself 5 minutes to get into your study, then you'd be more kind of inclined, oh, I'll wait a bit longer, I'll do a bit longer now since I'm here. So that seems to kind of cure procrastination. So just set a timer for 5 minutes and get stuck in. Sometimes you just need to get started. And it's easier working off, a few hundred words in a blank page. So even if you're writing bullet points or anything, just get something down. Um,
I find that useful even now, just putting it down on paper, taking 5 minutes and just getting started, you know.
yeah, definitely. Um, so yeah, you just need to get stuck in and stop delaying it.
Yeah.
There's also a technique called the Pomodoro Technique, and this is like a study technique as well, and it is kind of based on if people have concentration problems and they're getting distracted. So first you just pick a task that you're going to do. So it might be like a paragraph of an essay. Then you set a timer for 25 minutes. So it has been shown that you know the brain can kind of only last 20-25 minutes to concentrate on kind of a topic. So you're going to set your timer, you're going to work on your task until the timer rings, and then you take a 5 minute break. So a short break, take a sip of water or have a cup of tea. So you do that 4 times, and then when you do that 4 times, then you can take a longer break at the end of the fourth, Pomodoro it's called. So you take a 15-30 minute break, and then you can go back and do it again. And sometimes just having that 25 minutes set, it can be good for your routine, and you're really motivated. Once you decide, make sure that you decide before you start the timer, what are you going to do in that 25 minutes. And I think that's really important. To have the achievable goal there, so you're motivated to do it. There's the importance of obligation as well. So what about a task that has neither intrinsic or extrinsic motivators? And this can apply to an assignment, or a thesis, or something that's not, you wouldn't really choose to do it yourself, that you kind of have to do it. You're obliged to do a task. So obligation motivators are not necessarily strictly intrinsic or extrinsic, but can still be very powerful. So you might feel obliged to go to a party because you were invited by a friend, so that's kind of the obligation there. Or if you go to the party with an open and positive attitude, this may add an intrinsic motivator of fun and enjoyment. So there's always something you can kind of pull out. Actually, I better do this for my friend. It might be enjoyable. Or do you know what? If I do well in this, I'll get a good grade. So there's always something there that you can kind of cling on to, and feel obliged to do and get stuck in. And this is just picking out the positives. So we all know it's easy to get out of bed in the morning when we are facing happier activities. So research has shown that this is particularly important when we're under stress. So if you're kind of under stress, picking out the positives of why am I in college? Like what do I enjoy about being in college? And it's much easier to cope with your stress, if you kind of sit down and kind of think, what do I enjoy about this course, or what do I enjoy about this module? And that will get you more motivated. There's another thing, and I don't know if you do this, Keeva, a motivation board.
Yeah, no,
Good picture I could find. But really, like, just like we did there at the start, when I asked people what's their personal and career goals, even that kind of looked like a motivation board. There was a good few things there that you're like, oh yeah, that's mine as well. Or like even myself, like I was like, yeah, that's something I want to achieve. So even having something at your desk, you know, to have up there, so when you're studying, you're looking up and you're like, oh, that's why I'm doing this. And that can be motivation as well. If you're just visualizing it and seeing it right in front of you, this is what I'm going to get if I do this assignment or finish this degree. So it's really good to kind of put down what your goals are and have it in front of you. What do you think, Eva, about that?
yeah, no, definitely. And even like for a visual aid, you could have photos of, so say if it's to travel, pictures of places you want to travel.
Yeah.
No, that's a really nice idea. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's something I
it
use
could be
myself,
anything.
but yeah.
It doesn't need to be like career orientated or college orientated. It can be just general kind of what are your long-term goals, what do you want to achieve in your life. So yeah, I think it's a nice one, and you can be creative too if people are into artwork and stuff. You can make it really kind of nice looking and eye-catching. So yeah. And this is just how to identify the intrinsic, extrinsic, your obligations and positives. So I suppose we'll just maybe take the first one here. So when you're completing an assignment, so the intrinsic motivators will be the sense of achievement and accomplishment. Extrinsic, if I give it enough time, I can get a good grade. My lecturers will be really happy and I want to make a good impression. Okay, so that's the extrinsic. So that's the praise from others and good grades. Then the obligations, the assignment has to be done or I won't pass the course. So you're obliged to do it. You have to do it to pass. And then the positives. So reading will be interesting and an opportunity to learn more. So that's something that you can kind of see each kind of, motivator there. Your intrinsic, extrinsic, obligation, a positive, and there mightn't be extrinsic motivators. So say for the other one, going to the cinema on a Friday, there's no real extrinsic ones there. People personally might be able to find them, but get to spend time with my friends and enjoy movies. That's a good feeling. You're feeling good, and then that's another positive about that. Working a double shift, so there mightn't be anything intrinsically like motivating about that, but extrinsic motivators might be more money at the end of the month to go on a trip. So that's that's something there, and that's a kind of an obligation and a positive as well. So um, identifying what your motivation is really important. So I think this is the last slide. So it's all about the balance in college. So rewarding yourself with something you want after you complete something you need to do. So rewarding yourself after you finish an assignment. After exams, make sure you're giving yourself days off from study as well. And you're kind of, you know, rewarding yourself for all the hard work that you're putting in. Would you agree, Kiva?
Oh, definitely. And like even for myself, if I have a small task to do, a reward might be, oh, I can sit down and have that cup of tea with the bar of chocolate I've been dreaming about all
Yeah.
day. You know, even something small that you really enjoy, or if anyone has a pet, you get to sit down in the evening without worrying about, college work. You can sit down and relax with them. So yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and making sure, I suppose, you can lack motivation as well when you're studying the whole time. It can be
Yeah.
very kind of monotonous. So making sure that you have a routine, that you're setting aside, time to relax as well, putting away your laptop so you can't even see it. Um, and then the next day you'll be more motivated to do it. You won't feel like I spent the whole day yesterday studying. You'll be kind of well rested and well able for another day. So just managing your time is really important to stay motivated as well.
Definitely.
Does anyone have any questions before we stop recording? Is there any coming in there, Kiva, or will
No,
we
no,
stop recording?
no.
So I suppose just at the end of the recording, I'll just say thanks for everyone for coming, and we'll stop the recording now.
Stop recording.